Oh, let's do it live on a draft day edition. Merely Beau, the great Z. What a treat. How you living, buddy?
Finally, the draft is here. Thank
Oh,
goodness
thank God.
for that. But I got to tell you what, I'm fired up. Fired up. So it's draft day. I got 2 words for you. Ready?
Okay.
Linebacker. Woo! No, wait. No.
Whoa.
Oh, no, that wasn't it. Sorry. Maybe. Edge rusher.
Scores.
A little closer. Wide receiver. No. Cornerback?
No.
Oh.
No.
Let's go.
Could be. Oh, boy.
Let's
An
go.
off-season, let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, I love it. This is it is such a strange feeling because when we found out that we would have the draft, it's obviously a date that you circle. It has been so important for so long to this fan base. It is one that you just knew that this city would thrive at and will thrive at, despite suboptimal conditions today. That we will thrive, and hopefully the rain can stop by the time it's close. It's on the dark skies. It looks like 8 o'clock could be okay at that point. It's going to be obviously a deluge all day today, but tomorrow looks like it's going to be all right. Saturday will be all right. So we're going to be all right. But so much of this was predicated on the thinking, well, the Browns are going to be picking high, and we're not.
Yes.
So we will sit and we will wait. And in the meantime, the NFL appears to be in our pets' heads falling off stage because it's just crazy chaos. If you've been on social media at all this morning or paid attention or listened to what's going on, I don't know what to believe, what not to. Thankfully, Benjamin Albright will join us at the bottom of the hour. Hopefully he can shed some light. But there are so many crazy rumors going on right now that you don't know what to believe. When Jay Glazer tweets something, then you say, okay, I'll pay very close attention to that. But other than that, it's chaos, and we're out of the fray, brother. We're out of the fray.
Which is very, very nice because right now Pedro and the 49ers are very much in the midst of the fray. Crazy rumors swirling around the 49ers. I mean,
yeah.
Did you see the one about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, not hard to see him.
That can't be real. Come on.
I just think that we are in a time now. There's a lot of factors in play here. But the NFL, as you know, you've been around it a long time, the NFL, it's a lot of groupthink, and it's a lot of, hey, let's get consensus of opinion around the league. And this is an off season. Without a college football season where scouts could gather and share opinions and eventually come to consensuses, it is a atypical Senior Bowl. There was no combine. Even the pro days aren't the way that they used to be, where everybody goes to a town, you stay the night, have dinner, and consensuses are formed. So I think that this has the potential, when you factor all of that in, to be an absolute wild night. And I don't think anybody knows anything beyond what's going to happen at 1 and 2. And as we've talked this week, I don't understand why 2 is not being questioned. I think the whole night could be a wild card. I really do. I don't think anybody knows anything.
Yeah, I think that I think it's going to be fun. And I think it's nice that we are very much out of the fray. Unlike, as I said, Pedro and the 49ers, but let's just take back for 1 second and think about this Packers thing. So you mean tell me they mortgage their future to trade up to number 3 and then don't want anybody, so they're going to then try to use that to get Aaron Rodgers, who of course the Packers are going to say no. We drafted a quarterback in the first round last year. What do we need, another first round project quarterback?
Well, the only thing if you from the Packers' perspective, and Garoppolo was in that thing too.
Right, I know, but it was like, let me give you all the stuff, and you give me back Aaron Rodgers.
All the stuff. Right, no. But it's silly season. It's absolutely silly season right now, and it's never been sillier than it is this year. We've never had anything like this, and I think the factors I laid out kind of all contribute to that. And I don't think it's been so interesting, and I've been consuming this just constantly the last couple of days in the lead up to this. I know you have as well. You listen to guys, and the people who normally know, there's nothing to know. There's nothing to know. Like Kyle knows and John Lynch knows. And that's probably ownership might know. But that's it. And nobody else does. And no one's talking, and you're not face-to-face with people. So no one's taking calls, and no one's sharing information on text. A lot of this information gets exchanged, face-to-face.
Sure.
So I just think nobody knows anything, man, and I think it could be wild. I mean, this Saints thing coming out of nowhere today.
They want a quarterback.
I think
that Charles Robinson said that like a week ago.
A corner.
Corner, yes. CB.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that would be an incredible ransom to move up to take a corner. I mean, that's like a giving up to go get Deion Sanders type of ransom.
You better hope
to
he's
go get
right.
a corner.
Better be Deion Sanders.
Right, it's crazy. So, and a team that has a lot of needs, it just seems like would be silly to do that. But who knows? I mean, they know what they're doing. But it is from our vantage point, it is a perfect draft to just sit, be patient, be disciplined, and let it come to you. And my hunch is that something really good will.
I think it will as well. And I'm sure you saw Peter Schrager's final mock where he made a little bit of a change in it. And before I say, I wonder if, because I know Gibbe we do a mock every day. I didn't know if Gibbe was going to go with, there was a word in the building that he was going to give it to Baco and do the Baco mock here today. Did he do that,
mock.
Gibbe? Did he do the Bach mock?
Oh, it's in there.
Oh, it's in there. Okay, good.
It's in there.
The Bach mock, Drew Davidson mock, we got all that. But Schrager, who had Greg Rousseau to us in our first one today, ended up going with Eric Stokes, I think. It was either Eric Stokes or Tyson Campbell. It's one of the corners out of Georgia, and said, well, what I'm hearing now is that the Browns are interested in a corner. Oh, well, duh. Of course they are. The other thing that's been crazy today, have you seen?
We've heard that too.
Yeah, we've been saying that for a little while, that maybe there might be a corner.
Yeah.
There is a growing sentiment, at least on the Twitterverse, that people would be angry if the Browns took a receiver at 26.
I just think if you are one of those people,
I don't understand
I don't get it, and I think it's kind of a lack of understanding of roster building. And to that end, to the end that you just spoke to, I was listening to one of the more fascinating and illuminating conversations that I've ever heard, and in honesty to a fault leading to some exposure, from Urban Meyer on Adam Schefter's podcast. You've heard some of the quotes from this, no doubt.
Quotes,
my guess
yes.
is you have not listened to the podcast.
You would be correct.
His acknowledgement of what he did not know was stunning. Stunning. What he did not know about the NFL. And almost to the point of alarming of what he did not know.
As in, if you were
to the point
had
of
hired
saying,
him, you would be alarmed right now?
Yeah, hold on, I'll get there, because I think there's a way that it makes sense. Because what you hire him for is culture. You hire him to inspire you and hire him to do all these things. And that's why when I said when he was hired, he is one of the smartest, most determined people I've ever been around.
Yep.
Who is singularly focused on competition and winning, and honestly can't even operate. It's almost awkward. Can't really operate outside of it, outside of that window. Like that's the prism he's in, and so that's to hear him say these things would have been a little bit alarming. But I understand why Shad Khan hired him. But the key was always going to be who are the people he hires along with him to make these decisions, to be in the front office, those type of things. This isn't Jaguars Daily. The reason I'm telling you this story is he acknowledges that his view of it, and I'm wondering if that's what some of these fans are thinking, his view of it was we need to go get the best corner, the best receiver, like it's recruiting. And if he goes, there's 4 or 5 guys that I love that I want us to go get, like he says this on the podcast, I want us to go get after Trevor. Like I want to go get one of these 4 or 5 guys. And Trent Baalke goes, Coach, we can't give up our future number ones
for 1 year.
This is about 5 years, man. Like this is about 5 years, 10 years. Like we can't do that. That price is too high. And Urban acknowledges that I have to get used to that. And so to bring it back to what you're saying about the fans being surprised you take a wide receiver, folks, you have to understand. I mean, we've laid it out so many times you can't even count.
Sure.
The idea of we probably think corner is what you would prefer, but also the future planning at the wide receiver position. And if it happens to also be a guy who 15 times a game makes the defense think, well, where's he? Well, that only adds to it, and that helps you right away. So if you can't see that, then you don't understand what Andrew Berry's doing here.
There are 2 things, more than 2 things. But to your point, number one, the Urban Meyer, that is hilarious. Let's just get this isn't college. You can't just get all the best people to come to your program.
Real quick follow-up on that. So then I thought, how's that possible? And then I remembered his view of coaching, that's all he did. My guess is he didn't even pay attention to the NFL world. His entire focus was singularly on college football.
Yeah.
Like he never, my guess is he paid no attention to what happened on Sundays. Sure, when their season was over, I'm sure he watched the playoffs, but my guess is he didn't watch the NFL. My guess is that he was singularly focused on Florida, Ohio State, and that was it. And so it made sense to me that he didn't know these things. Now, he's not saying he doesn't know them now, but he said when he started, he didn't.
Yeah, he's like, draft schmaft. I get all the top recruits.
Go
Where
get
are all
my
the 5
guys.
stars? Get them here
Where's
right
my
now.
guys?
Where are my guys
Yeah,
at?
right.
So that
Right.
in and of itself to me is pretty hilarious. That's funny and fun. Let's go back to the wide receiver thing. I don't know how anybody who's a Browns fan could come out of the game against the Chiefs and say, I don't want to inject some speed into our receiving core. Okay, that's just one. So let's just take it from that standpoint. And this is a draft that is loaded with speedy wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Then let's go ahead and take a look forward to 2022. Okay, you've got 2 guys slated to be on the books that will be making it combined more than $30 million. Guaranteed money done with both of them. Jarvis Landry, by the way, I want to retire a Cleveland Brown. Let me just make that abundantly clear. And I don't think taking a receiver in the first round, there are people like, well, that means they're going to cut something. It doesn't mean they're going to cut anybody. You have to understand, there are no guarantees in 2022. In fact, the only guy that's in your receiving core who did anything for you last year that is guaranteed to be on your roster in 2022 right now is Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's it. That's the list.
That's the list.
1-year deal Hodge, 1-year deal Higgins, Jarvis at the end of his contract, Odell at the end of his contract, guaranteed money gone with both. Your needs today are not always your needs tomorrow. And for the Browns, they have needs, and that's why edge rusher is still in discussion. I heard people say, why are you guys even talking about edge rusher? I did my last mock, and my belief is our first 3 picks in some order will end up being corner, receiver, and edge rusher. They say, well, why are you using the early pick on edge rusher? Well, I would love Clowney to be here for a while. I would love Takk McKinley. I think Takk McKinley has a chance to be here for a while and be very, very good. But they're both on 1-year deals. Your defensive end room guaranteed into 2022's Myles Garrett and Curtis Weaver right now. And so I think it's those you got to think that we've got already a very complete roster. Pro Football Focus said it, number 2 in the NFL. So tonight's about getting talent and staying true to your board if somebody elite comes in, driving competition. But it's also about saying, well, what's this roster going to look like in a year? And how do we maintain this high level of performance? And so sometimes it's going to be drafting at a position that you'd say to yourself, well, we barely play 3 receivers as it is. We've already got Odell, Jarvis, Hollywood Higgins, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Why would we possibly invest? I saw people, whose opinions I very much respect, say they're shocked and disappointed. They'd be disappointed if the Browns took a receiver at 26. And to me, that's short. You're so locked in on 2021 and locked in on the hype of what's on the roster without saying to yourself, okay, what's a skill set we don't have that the elite teams do have? Yeah. How do we get it? And what's our receiving core going to look like in 2022 if we do nothing?
Yeah. So
that's why I think there are so many great ways for the Browns to approach this. And I think that's what's so fun about it.
I agree with you. And I think the fan base and even some in the media and, just talking to people around town, we have to adjust. We are programmed that when the draft comes around, you have to get a franchise savior for the Browns. We've already drafted the franchise saviors.
Yep,
they're already here. We don't need plug and play guys. We don't. It's very likely that we will draft an entire draft and none of them will start.
Yep.
It's very likely. More likely than that they will, in fact. More likely that barring injury, more likely that not a single player we draft starts than that they do.
Yep.
I think that's fair. So we have to adjust. It's a different mindset. So what we're saying is, and what Andrew Berry knows, is that this is a long con. This is a long game that's being played.
Totally.
This is not, oh, my God, we got to go get a linebacker. No, we're fine at linebacker. We have 6 of them, and they're young, and they're good, and we're fine.
Those are my 2 words for you.
We don't
linebacker.
need to. That's right. We're fine. So it's a mindset change.
Yes.
That some are just a little slow to get to, and it's fine. It's just going to take an adjustment, but that's where you are. And the good news is that the smartest people walking around this town work for us, so that's pretty good.
Amen.
Pretty good. Pretty good spot right there.
Amen.
Speaking of the smart people, how about AB? What a day he's having. Congratulations to him and his wonderful wife, Britton, the birth of their baby girl, Eden Ruth Berry. So you got child, draft, same day?
Jeez. Loaded up. Bravo.
What a job.
Bravo.
What a job. That's a good job. Congratulations to him. Going to be fun. Today's Ohio Lottery Keep It Fun poll. What position do you want the Browns to address tonight? At pick 26, edge, linebacker, corner, or wide receiver. Vote now at Browns_daily on Twitter. Those were your OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machines, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. Have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 645-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. In addition, if you're obsessing over something like football, it can be a problem, but if you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous. Do something to take your mind off it. If you want some tips, go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. Z and I will go through all the rumors, and there are a lot of them, and they involve everybody. So we'll try and see what makes sense and what doesn't. Ben Albright will join us at the bottom of the hour, off and running here on a Draft Day Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, get ready for the NFL Draft. It is here. It starts today. Special editions of Browns Live all week, presented by Graham & Fisk Wine in a Can. Tonight at 6, join us for the 21
Me and you, baby.
Browns Live hour-long draft special. We got a date, baby. You and me. We'll
You got a date Thursday, baby.
There you go. Everything you need to get you set for the first round. Some luminaries. Some luminaries are going to join us on the program. Browns website, Browns YouTube channel, Browns mobile app. Full replays available of the show at youtube.com/Browns.
That's right.
I will have my DVR set for that tonight, so I can rewatch you and I and make a little history. That's going to be fun for everybody involved. What do you make of today? And now Ben Albright will join us here in about 10 minutes, so we'll get some perspective from him. But it'll be fun. So when Glazer tweets, which isn't often, about things, they come true. I mean, I feel like he bats 1,000 on this stuff. Like I don't know him ever missing, and he rarely does it. He doesn't wade into these waters, but when he does, he has it. So apparently, according to him, the Saints are trying to get into the top 10 of this draft. Now, the issue with that would be the 49ers have set the price on what the cost of that will be. So to me, if that's not to take a quarterback, and it is in fact to take a cornerback, the price will be extreme.
So the belief currently around the league is that Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn will both be gone by pick 12. And that the Eagles,
I think that's fair,
have J.C. Horn ahead of Surtain on their board and believe they need to get ahead of the Cowboys to guarantee that they get Horn. And now with this Farley injury stuff that's coming out, perhaps the Saints have said, nope, not interested. Teams like Newsome, but he's had some injury stuff in the past, and maybe they're not as high, but they want one of these two that they consider the sure thing corners. Remember, they don't have a single corner on their roster under contract for 2022. So
correct.
They may feel we've got to get ahead of Dallas to guarantee ourselves one of the two, and ideally the one that we want, knowing that Philly's also trying to get ahead of Dallas right now. Supposedly Philly,
so in that sense,
Philly is all over J.C. Horn, and that is who they want.
So if that's the case, the landing spot would be 7, right, with the Lions, who everybody says is willing to trade back. And
or
if you're
Carolina.
the Lions,
8.
Yeah, if Carolina doesn't want to go quarterback, those would be, and maybe they don't. Maybe they want to go Darnold. It could very well. I mean, I would think with the trading of Bridgewater that they would be going Darnold and not adding another rookie to that room. I think that would be a strange thing to do. But that owner, I mean, Tepper is kind of a wild card. I mean, it could be anything with that spot. So that's very interesting. So you think about 7. You think about the Lions, who would have a willingness to back out, and that would assure you, if you are the Saints, the even if the Cowboys or the Eagles, that would assure you that you get your corner if you went to 7. That's the only spot that promises you're going to get your guy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that they feel that desperate about it to get up that high to get those corners, and maybe that says that there are, those two are in their own class. Farley now is an enigma. Newsome's the next best of that group coming after that. But there are a lot of people that like now, I've heard about Tyson Campbell from Georgia, Eric Stokes from Georgia. Tyson Campbell is the guy that, and those are corners that have an opportunity to go at the end of the first round now. Asante Samuel Jr., Melifonwu. We may see a weird corner run. It seems like there are a lot of teams that want corner. And so if you're the Browns, the one position you want to run on, you want what happened in our dueling mock draft, as Gibbe labeled a mock draft where we just alternated picks, which I loved. Gibbe, did you see the comments on that? People were loving it.
Probably not as much as my mock draft that I was asked to write up and do.
Well, there are mixed reviews on that mock draft for you.
If any one of those 4 picks that I made come to fruition, I'm going to take the mother of all victory laps on the live stream.
Yes.
So during Browns Live, Gibbe's mock draft was revealed, And a couple of the names were names that we hadn't really discussed much at all. And so I wanted
Ever.
Unfortunately, I was unable to be able to bring him in studio because I wanted to bring him in studio to get his
Yeah,
analysis
just ask.
as to
Sure.
why you selected an offensive tackle from Cincinnati in the 3rd round. And how did you come about really enjoying the corner from Stanford who opted out in 2020? You know, was it something about his 2018 season when he had 24 pass breakups?
What
really
did you see on
eye?
tape?
Yeah, what did you see on tape,
Yeah.
Jimmy? But we didn't get a chance. We won't do it now. It was draft day, so the moment is
No time.
past.
There's no time.
There's no time. But I enjoyed this from Russell Toss. He said, Nathan kept putting Gribbs in a bind, and Gribbs kept responding by drafting offensive linemen. And is any producer better than Gibbe at dreaming up segments only to give them the dumbest names? It's not a dueling draft. Just good stuff from the fellas.
But
it's an alternating draft.
That's right. That's what it was.
ESPN called the Todd and Mel rotating picks a dueling mock. I'm like, all right, I'm stealing that line. Dueling mock. Here we go.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
You sound like Bootsy when he gets in trouble because somebody else did.
No.
Well, Jack was doing it, Dad.
I played off of them. I'm like, I'm going to take their thing.
Bird
You're your own man, Gibbe.
Dueling mock.
Bird bath.
How about, real quick, before we get to Ben, because we'll ask him about this, and you touched on it briefly. So this comes out of a Paul Allen is where this report comes from originally, out of K-Fan, which I think is out of Minneapolis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it Minneapolis? Yeah. So he reported that it is believed that the 49ers offered the number 3 overall pick, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, other players, however that's defined, plus draft picks, to the Packers for Aaron Rodgers. Bill Michaels started the fire, attributing the report. Pro Football Talk came with it. As we hear it, the offer was made and rejected last night. You know, Kyle. Does this seem like something he would do at this juncture in the game?
If this is true, it means that when they traded up, it says there's some dysfunction going on. Because that means they traded up without somebody there, and maybe what they were saying all along is that Kyle wanted Mac Jones and nobody else in the organization did, and that they're fighting over it. And so now it's like, all right, how do we get out of this without having to split on this and get somebody who can help us right now? I don't know. This whole thing doesn't seem good, I'll tell you that. And what's amazing to me is that this was broken by Paul Allen. Paul Allen we've had on this show before because he's the Jim Donovan play-by-play announcer of the Vikings.
Wait, what?
PA on the mic.
I didn't put that together. I knew he was on the radio in Minneapolis. I didn't know he's the play-by-play voice of the Vikings.
Yes.
And he's breaking this trade?
Right, which does not involve the Vikings.
We'll ask Benjamin Albright about all of this. He will join us coming up next. Unbelievable. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You guys are down.
All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. The draft is here. It starts tonight. Stock up at Meijer on top picks like Bounty, Old Spice, and Tide. So you're ready for anything. They're in stock and they're available. Plus this week, save over $125 on P&G brands with M Perks. Place your order in the Meijer app. Do so today. For clarity, we hope, and I think that he can provide it. We head out on the hotline for our good buddy Benjamin Albright, NFL analyst, host at KOA in Denver, NFL insider. He's our guy. Well, Ben, I think we're kind of at our pets' heads are falling off portion of the program based on what's happened today on Twitter. What do you make of it?
Oh, it's Merry Draftsmas, first of all. It's only the greatest day of the year. We get to open the gifts at night instead of in the morning. But, yeah, it is kind of the crazy time of year. And now you get all this information dump the day of, and everybody starts freaking out. And, 90% of the stuff that comes out doesn't even come to fruition anyway. So I just caution everybody to take a deep breath and relax and enjoy the ride.
Ben, we always love to have you on because you kind of help us sort through things. First of all, can I give a tip of the cap to you? You had this Teddy Bridgewater trade to the Broncos like how many weeks ago? It was a while ago. I had to go back and try to even search it out. But you did an excellent self-retweet, which I appreciate. But, yeah, kudos to you on that.
Well, hey, the football's not going to spike itself, but it was in March, I think it was that I think it was March that we knew that the Teddy Bridgewater thing was going to happen, and then they finally pulled the trigger yesterday. So yeah, we've actually kind of known about that for a while, but I like to have some fun with it on Twitter. You know me.
Indeed. So let's go ahead and start with some of the wild rumors. What are you hearing right now? And well, I mean, the 49ers. Are they panicking if this Aaron Rodgers thing is true? Does that mean they traded up to 3 without a stone-cold lock on who they were going to select, which stuns me? I feel like when you make a move like that, you know what you're going to do with it, and now they're trying to just throw the kitchen sink and bail, it sounds like.
Well, I'll say this. First of all, the Aaron Rodgers, we'll call it trade proposal, I guess. There is truth to that. However, it was agent-driven and not really team-driven, where the agents kind of worked something out, tried to work something out behind the scenes, then present it to the teams, and that's where it fell apart. So there's truth to it, but it's not exactly true in the sense that the Niners were trying to, throw the kitchen sink at it. So let's clarify that just a little bit. That said, the Niners did trade up to 3 with several players in mind. In the end, they'll say the guy they get was the guy they wanted all along, but reality is they traded up with a couple of different players in mind they were comfortable with. And they were not comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo. I happen to know that staff firmly places the blame of the Super Bowl loss directly on Jimmy Garoppolo's inability to extend drives in the fourth quarter and make plays. That's been a problem for them. So they've been looking to move on. I think it's Mac Jones or Trey Lance. I put Trey Lance in my mock draft, but it wouldn't shock me if it was either one.
It's interesting about what you said there a lot, Ben. But what's jumped out to me is the inability to extend drives. And if that is the case, and if you go back to that Super Bowl, the quarterback for the other team, and I am by no means comparing Trey Lance or Justin Fields to Patrick Mahomes, I'm not. But from the standpoint of creating plays, extending drives, they have a gear that Mac Jones doesn't. And so that's kind of why I've always had trouble with this Mac Jones stuff for them. It just didn't seem to pass the sniff test based on, and if you go back to even when they were in Washington, and it was Robert Griffin III they took second overall, not Cousins. I mean, it seemed to me, just kind of connecting the dots from afar, that element would be something that you'd give that much to go get. What do you make of just a month straight of Mac Jones?
Well, let's back up a little first. Let's give a little background on the Washington deal. That was Dan Snyder picking RG3 and not Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan. They didn't want RG3, actually.
Okay.
So I can tell you that. I know that from personal experience. That said, they tried to make the best of it. It kind of worked out. And if you look, their offenses have been better when they've had those dynamic players that you suggested rather than their usual archetype. I can also tell you that Mike Shanahan was the angriest that anyone has ever seen him when the Arizona Cardinals snapped up Matt Leinart and he had to settle, air quotes, for Jay Cutler. So, being a talent evaluator, the Shanahans have squeezed the most talent out of the quarterbacks they've had, but they haven't exactly been the greatest talent evaluators on the planet. And I would suggest that probably leans into this Mac Jones thing. They want smart guys, and they're willing to deal with limitations because they want smart guys. Unfortunately, the modern NFL it is about smarts and plus trait athleticism. If you look around, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, you mentioned, even Aaron Rodgers. If you look at the three other quarterbacks that were in the championship games last year besides Tom Brady, that's what they are. And so, I think for me, Trey Lance makes the most sense. He's the smartest quarterback in this draft, and doesn't have the body by Krispy Kreme that Mac Jones is rocking.
That is fantastic. By the way, my father would
it's a
agree with
picture
you.
he can't live down.
No,
can't live that picture down.
It is not. My father would agree with you about Kyle's talent evaluation skills. He was not a huge fan of what's happened so far. He pointed out last night, I said, Dad, they trade up. They obviously got something in mind. He said, well, they traded up for C.J. Beathard and Dante Pettis, and I'm done with it. I don't trust anything.
What about Solomon Thomas?
Solomon Thomas. Didn't they draft Reuben Foster there, which didn't work out as well? There have been a few things that have happened. All right, Ben, let's turn our attention to the team that matters the most, the team of the hour, the Cleveland Browns. And at 26, we started this process with everybody giving the Browns a linebacker. And I think we've gotten to the point where now people realize that's probably not as likely as they maybe initially thought, unless there's somebody special who falls and they can't pass up those traits. What are you hearing? I know in your mock you had Joe Tryon, the edge. I think edge is in play. Corner certainly in play. Wide receiver as well. What's kind of the latest that you're gathering around on the Browns? And maybe if there's anybody you've heard that they're particularly interested in.
Well, I think if Zaven Collins were to fall, and I don't think that happens, I think they would be all over that. That said, I think you're right. The three position groups that make the most sense there are edge rusher, corner, and wide receiver. And I don't know that there's a receiver there that makes a whole ton of sense, especially with as deep a class as it is, especially with these slot guys, and you can get some guys a little bit later. So, I think to me, it really depends on the corner and edge. This is not that deep a corner class. You got kind of some tiers. You have a first tier that's like superstar guys, a second tier that's good, and then after that, it's just kind of a bunch of just guys. So to me, edge makes the most sense. I put Tryon in there, even though he doesn't really fit the archetype of what they typically look for. But he's a young guy that you can kind of develop, because right now you've got Pat McKinley, you've got Clowney, you got Garrett, you've got the opportunity to develop an edge guy behind some of those guys, and then roll him out as you move away from Clowney and attack McKinley later on. So, I thought Tryon made the most sense. Maybe an interior defensive lineman. There's only really two of them in his class, Barmore and Onwuzurike. So maybe one of those two, but that seemed to make the most sense to me.
Ben, what about the trends that I think the unexpected is to be expected tonight to a certain degree, and I think some of that, and it can lead to kind of two different ends. And the reason I say that is we had a very atypical scouting process. We did not have the typical groupthink that we have where everybody gets together at the combine and we all get to share ideas. Like, that didn't happen. And it didn't happen for scouts. And so teams are kind of in their own individual silos a little bit with this draft. And I don't know if it'll lead to, man, we're not trading anything. We're staying where we're at. We like this guy. We've identified him. We're staying where they're at. Or on the other side, could it lead to chaos where there's trades everywhere? How do you think, what's your gut feeling on how this thing goes, juxtaposed to what has been just a strange offseason in regard to talent evaluation?
Well, it has been a strange offseason. It's been strange for me as well, like trying to be in the, the information game or whatever. It's tough to, it's a tough nut to crack when you're just doing the phone all the time and you can't sit down, have a glass of bourbon or whatever. So it's, it is different. I could tell you teams are all over the map with these evaluations. Teams generally have different boards than like the consensus boards that are out there, but it is all over the map with some of this stuff. You got some people that say that Justin Fields is QB1. You got some people that have a day 3 grade on the guy. They are all over the map with this stuff. So I do think that you're going to see a little bit of chaos, especially with medical guys that opted out, stuff like that, probably slip a little bit lower. I would not be surprised to see a lot of teams punt on this draft altogether, trying to trade into next year just so that they can have a better evaluation process, especially in a deeper class next year across the board.
And you need to have people that are willing to do that. So you think there will be some buyers that are willing to kind of take some gambles this year if guys, let's say a Caleb Farley falls or somebody else with a medical falls and somebody says, look, I don't want any part of that. You think there are enough teams that are willing to be buyers in this market as well?
I think so. And Farley is going to fall. There's a lot of teams that think he needs another back surgery on top of what he's already had. So he's going to go lower than people think. I saw people mocking him in the top 10 for a while, and that is definitely not going to happen. In fact, I would be more surprised if he went in the top 10 than if he fell out of the first round altogether. As far as finding partners for that, you will. Teams that are salary cap strapped right now are desperate. So teams like Atlanta, teams like New Orleans, teams that are really, really tight on the cap are going to be a lot more desperate and willing to move up. And willing to do some things that otherwise they might not be able to do simply because they've got to fill some holes and they have no money to do it, so they need those rookie contracts.
It's gonna be absolutely fascinating. Fascinating what your team in Denver is going to do with the Bridgewater trade. When I saw it, I thought, okay, that quarterback makes sense now. Teddy, There's obviously familiarity with George Payton, with Teddy, and I believe the same offensive coordinator, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That
Pat
he's had
Shermer.
before.
Yep.
So, yeah, so there's familiarity there, and I thought, boy, now you put a quarterback in there, and Teddy can kind of be the bridge. No pun intended on that one. How do you view that one going today for the Broncos there at the end?
I think if the right quarterback is there, they would. I don't see them trading up. I mean, they could, but everything I've been told is I don't think they're moving up, and they only take a quarterback if the right guy is there. I think they want to move down. I think George Payton in his first year as GM wants to let Bridgewater be the bridge, as it were, again, no pun intended, for Drew Lock, and then maybe a quarterback next year in the draft if they go that route. They might take it if the right guy falls. I really believe they want to trade back, and if they can't, then I think Rashawn Slater is probably the guy.
Rashawn Slater, the offensive lineman. Interesting. Do you think that, we've heard about the Saints moving up, would the Broncos be a team willing to move back if they got a nice haul to get out of the top 10? Because if the Saints want to get in front of Dallas or Philly for J.C. Horn, the son of former Saints legend Joe Horn, is that something, would the Broncos be open to that?
I think so. It just depends on the haul that they would get back. It would have to be significant to move back that far, especially with the players that are kind of sitting there at 9. So,
yeah.
I think they're very open to moving back. I just, in terms of moving back that far, there would be a premium paid above the trade value chart.
All right, Ben, I want to go back. You said if Zaven Collins falls, do you think the Browns would be all over that? We know he's up to 270, so do you think that they see him as somebody who can play on the edge, or how would they view him? Like Anthony Barr in Minnesota, who this staff knows so well?
Yeah, kind of. Honestly, it would be both. He's an off-ball linebacker that you kick down onto the edge in sub-package situations. He's bulked up to 270, but if you're a subscriber, and I take it with a grain of salt, but if you're a subscriber to the Pro Football Focus stuff, he has the highest coverage grade a linebacker's ever gotten from him coming out of college. He's great going away from the ball. He's great sideline to sideline. He's great coming downhill. He can do that just about anything. So he kind of makes that perfect versatile linebacker there that can do a little bit of everything. And I tell you, if Denver trades back, I hope they pick him up here.
Well, that would make a lot of sense, certainly for Denver, absolutely, with Vic and certainly his love of having linebackers who can run and do those things. Ben, what trends will you be watching for? Give me some hunches that you think happen tonight. Will all 5 quarterbacks, will they all go in the top 10? What are some things you'll be keeping your eye on tonight, big picture-wise?
Well, the quarterbacks, obviously, that's the one that's dominating the conversation. The wide receiver situation, you've got 2 or 3 guys that are going to go top 12, top 15-ish, top 16-ish maybe, I guess is a better way to put that. And then there's 3 more guys that might creep in the first round. I'm kind of interested to see where Elijah Moore goes, where Bateman goes, and kind of keep an eye on that. And then, if teams recognizing that this is an absolutely historically awful class for interior defensive linemen, reach on guys like Barmore and Onwuzurike, if they go and they push good players down the board. And then I think the other thing to keep an eye on is, guys with medical red flags, how far they slide with the lack of great medical information this year. You got Azeez Ojulari, who's got the knee issues. You got Caleb Farley with the back, Jalen Phillips with the concussions, Rousseau. There's so many great players that on their tape would be drafted early that are probably going to slide a little bit because of these medicals.
I want to ask you about that second group of corners. So if the top group, you've got Surtain and Horn, who seem to have kind of separated themselves as people who are locks to go in the top 16 in this draft. Newsome, it feels like, a lot of people had a mock to the Browns, but it doesn't seem like he'd be on the board at 26 at this point. Farley's out. So I'm talking Asante Samuel, Kelvin Joseph, the 2 corners from Georgia, Campbell and Stokes, maybe Melifonwu, Elijah Molden. How do you see that group going? And do you think some of those names actually end up going in the first round? 'Cause it all of a sudden feels like corner's kind of a hot position and a coveted position, but there aren't as many, elite guys as maybe we thought, or maybe the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and some people think they are.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and then some of these guys are viewed as kind of hybrids. You talked about Newsome there, and I think he's going to go a little later than people think. But at the same time, guys like Stokes could creep into the first round. You talked about him a little bit. But hybrid guys like Trevon Moehrig, the teammate of Newsome out of TCU,
yep.
People are talking about him as a safety. I think he's more of a heavy slot than he is actually a safety. And so you might see him, guys like that, kind of get drafted, especially with the vogue defenses these days, either being what you guys run in Cleveland, which is a man, middle of the field closed, cover one type, or like what they run in Denver here, which is almost the opposite. It's a zone. It's a quarters, middle of the field open, type of defense. You getting the right guys that fit your scheme and making sure you've got those, just because those are the 2 vogue defenses now.
Yeah, and to that end, as we flip it to the other side, from a receiver's position, because when we go back to the loss to Kansas City for us, Ben, we go, and Nathan said this on the Monday after, the speed. You know, we need to have more speed, especially offensively, from a weapon standpoint. So if that is it, and it appears to be the case, it appears that there are some incredible values at potentially the end of the first, but definitely in the second round at receiver, some game breaker guys that could be available. Who do you like in that group?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on who you think is going to be there. I think Elijah Moore is going to go in the first. I like him a lot. A guy I don't like is Kadarius Toney. I know people are all over him, but he reminds me of like Percy Harvin a little bit in the sense that he's kind of positionless in the NFL, and I worry about teams' abilities to maximize his potential. If you use him more like Randall Cobb, you might get something out of him, but you know how they just couldn't find a position for Percy Harvin, and that really kind of stunted him overall, despite his athletic profile. I think there's some guys later on that kind of match up and fit that stuff too. If you want to look like day three, a five-tool guy like Jalen Darden out of North Texas, who can return punts and kicks as well as be that slot guy. I think he's a guy you put the ball in his hands, let him create in space. He could be something. So that's kind of a guy I'm keeping an eye on.
Ben, are there any teams that you've heard that maybe we're not hearing about for the quarterbacks that maybe are thinking about maybe making a move? I mean, the Steelers come to mind. At some point, they've got to address their future at that position. Are there any teams that you're hearing, maybe might be in the quarterback mix that we're not talking about?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about, but I would tell you that New England, Washington, and Chicago are all very much keeping an eye on the quarterback situations. I think Washington's the team that gets overlooked in talking about that, because they went out and got Fitzy. But if Trey Lance were to slip and fall, they would be all over trying to move up and get him. I think they really want to go inside backer. Ron Rivera wants to find his air quotes Luke Kuechly, but I think that if Trey Lance fell, that would be one they'd have to do. I'm not so sure about Pittsburgh. They signed Dwayne Haskins, and I think they want to kind of give him a season to see if he could be the guy. But I don't think that they're as much on a quarterback as everybody thinks. I think they're on a running back, and they're just kind of run it this season and then address quarterback either in the offseason or next year.
Ben, you're the best, man.
Yes.
Happy draft. Appreciate your time today.
No problem. You guys are the best, and for you, anytime.
All right, that is the great Benjamin Albright joining us on the hotline. Yeah, really, absolutely. Boy, there was some interesting stuff there. The one thing that I had never heard was the Leinart Cutler.
No, and in fact, everything that you read that we'd read leading up to this draft that talked about what Kyle would do cites that as an example of how what Mike Shanahan did, wanting Cutler all along and being secretive about it and then getting him. But Ben, I don't make a business of doubting Ben Albright. So if that's what he says, I believe that might be very much the case.
Yeah. Some really, really good stuff there, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. It's interesting. Just quickly on Fields. If Justin Fields did not play last year, to me, he's the second pick in the draft. He didn't play.
But I also feel
Trey Lance played one game.
Yeah.
Was one game against like Central Arkansas. And he was a 50% passer in the game. He's played one season of SCS football. And it's like everyone wants to go get Trey Lance. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. I don't get it. And I guess I'll believe it when I see it tonight. It almost feels like Kyle's going to go Fields at 3. I mean, just that to me, I go, okay, well, that makes sense. That I get, because I don't understand the idea that people would think Lance and Wilson are better than him, let alone Mac Jones. I just don't see it.
Trey Lance, by the way, in the betting houses is now favored over Mac Jones to be the 49ers pick at number 3. Pat McAfee on his show said his sources have told him it will be Trey Lance as well.
Well, that would make sense for what but also would say that Garoppolo is going to be there.
Yes, definitely would say that.
Because you're not going to go to a kid who's played 1 year of college football at North Dakota State and honestly played in a running offense in high school and then have him do that at age, 20? I mean, I don't think you're going to do that. But maybe. Who knows? It's wild. Wild times. Be sure to catch the latest edition of the BPA. It's out wherever you get your podcasts or by going to the YouTube channel of the Cleveland Browns, youtube.com/Browns. It's a dueling mock. Oh, Clooney joins the Ibs boys to go through every pick in round 1. So is this an alternating mock or a dueling mock?
I believe it's alternating. I believe we were collaborating.
Alternating.
Right. A dueling mock would be, here's my mock, here's your mock, here's why my mock's better than yours.
Duel.
Let's fight. I
Yeah,
invoke,
like OK Corral.
I invoke
style.
parlay. Yes.
Yeah, parlay. There you go. Invoke parlay. Dan Chonka, one of the best, former NFL scout. Our lads, his mock. We'll go through it, see what we like, see who he has slotted to us. It's coming up at the top of the hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO today for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to get smarter, kids. We head on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy Dan Shaka. He's a former NFL scout, current head of one of the best websites when it comes to the draft that you'll find, publications as well, of course, Our Lads. And he joins us now on the hotline, and he does so within 7 minutes of dropping your mock, Dan. And in it, you got a little bit of a shakeup at number 2, buddy. That's a bit of an attention getter.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've liked Justin Fields for a long time, and I'm still. I mean, that was always a story for me. Everybody, after Zach Wilson's workout, everybody said, "Well, he's going number 2," and I said, "Well, as my good friend Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend." And that very well. I mean, it may happen. I think that's herd mentality right now. And then, Daniel Jeremiah is great friends with Joe Douglas, and I think he put that out there right away. But it'd be interesting to see if that's what comes to pass, because I think Justin Fields should head to the Big Apple and be able to take the pressure that they can give him. It's a whole different world, New York City, from Draper, Utah.
Yeah, it sure is. And Fields has been under a microscope since that transfer from Georgia to Ohio State and playing on the big stage in Columbus, obviously. Dan, you're one of several really smart people that we've had on, and obviously we focus primarily on the Browns and the corners and all the things that we could have an interest in later in the draft. But usually the Fields thing comes up, and he has been the lightning rod of this entire draft process. And you're one of several people that we really respect from a film standpoint and studying it, scouting standpoint, who has Fields as the number 2 quarterback overall. So what are all of you missing? What are we missing that leads the thinking that he could be the 5th? How are we getting this wrong?
Well, I think sometimes it's herd mentality, and we won't know till tonight because there's 32 boards out there, and they all look at things differently. They have different evaluators I don't understand, because fortunately, being here in Big Ten country where I live, I was able to study all of Justin's films. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the shaky, and I understood that Olave did not play in one of the games where, in fact, the receiver ran a wrong route a couple times when, Justin threw that ball. I want to say it was the Indiana game, and it looked like, well, gosh, where are you throwing it? Well, the receiver ran the wrong frickin' route, so, but he did so many good things I just don't understand what, it's like it's just a mob mentality sometimes. And, there's 500 people out there with computers that make their mock drafts, and they hear one thing. And I don't care what anybody – you guys know that, because I picked Baker Mayfield 3 years ago when everybody else was – remember Sam Darnold, they couldn't wait to anoint him. Well, he's in Jacksonville now, he's in Carolina now and out in New York. So, I just think that, and then we had Dak Prescott in the second round, a few years ago too. So you got to study the film, and we could still be wrong. I study the heck out of it, and the things that I look for: quick synapse in the brain to the hand, get the ball out, placement, accuracy, or placement is better than accuracy to me. But I've evaluated quarterbacks since Brett Favre came out, and so I've seen it all, and I feel like Justin Fields is a terrific quarterback and going to be so in the league.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to see what ends up happening with that. If it was a shock the world moment at number 2, that would be phenomenal for Justin, and I'm rooting for him. I think you said the draft process has somehow vilified him, and even Mac Jones to a certain extent. You have everybody in San Francisco in the Bay Area not wanting him. All the kid did was play well in college and aspire to be drafted in the NFL, and yet this process has trashed those guys. I want to ask you, Dan, about the Browns, though. 26, a position we are not that familiar with. A lot of directions that I think the Browns could go, whether it be somebody on the edge, whether it be a corner, which I think is probably the biggest need here still on this roster, even wide receiver early. How do you think about the Browns roster, and where would you be looking if you were Andrew Berry?
Well, I'll tell you, the Brown fans got to get used to it. because they're going to be picking low from now on, okay? So
Great.
knock on wood. But I think they're going to be picking down toward the bottom. But, no, I mean, I understand a corner is important, okay? I think our best guy in our last mock draft, we put Greg Rousseau, the pass rusher. Actually, he can go all along the defensive line and line up anywhere in maybe a NASCAR package where you got 4 guys or 3 guys coming and flying up there. Hey, maybe you have Clowney, Garrett Miles, and Rousseau in there rushing the passer. You don't know, but you need another one because Clowney's on a 1-year deal, and he gets hurt all the time. So I think Rousseau's a good thing. But I understand corner. If there's a corner there, like say for instance the Browns doctors passed Caleb Farley, for instance, and said, hey, he has this discectomy. He has had 2 disectomies, but we feel like that he's going to be okay. Maybe in 8 years he might be done, but in the near future, next several years, he should be okay. Well, then I think you take Farley. I mean, Farley is a terrific corner. I don't know. We got him right now going 15 to New England. We know New England's trying to trade and all that, but Farley actually was our top corner when the season started. That is including, we didn't know Horn was coming out at that point, but had him a little bit ahead of Surtain. So, but Farley's really a terrific player. Now, he may fall out of the first round because of that medical. I don't know. All it takes is one team to like you. You saw it happen to Drew Brees. Miami flunks him. New Orleans passes him, and now he's going in the Hall of Fame. So it just depends on your doctors what their specifics are. But the corner now, if the Browns are willing to take a shot, on another corner or 2 down there in that area, if they want to go that direction, Asante Samuel we like a lot. We have him right now going into New Orleans. We got him going into the Jets because they need a corner too.
Yep.
But Eric Stokes is a real interesting guy. He and Campbell both played in the backfield, Tyron Campbell at Georgia.
Yep.
And both of them are really good corners. But our experts and our staff who coach the secondary and all that, they like Stokes better. I looked at both of them, and Stokes was, rotating at one time, and whereas Campbell was rotating, and Stokes was always there. You could, really count on the guy. So we stuck Stokes ahead of Campbell.
I think that's an interesting spot, and Stokes is now creeping into these first rounds. Do you think, and in your draft it feels that way, that there's going to be a run on cornerbacks? And that, for the Browns, maybe you end up in the second round. So let's say you go edge or some other position in the first round. If you're now into the second round, the Georgia kids, Joseph out of Kentucky, Melifonwu, Elijah Molden, who are some of the guys you like in that second round area?
Yeah, no, I tell you what, if Stokes doesn't make it to the first round, of course, we absolutely love him. And, I think that guys like Robinson, he may end up going the third round, but late second from Central Florida. He really had a good Senior Bowl, did a lot of good things. Melifonwu, like you said, if you play a lot of press out there, he's a long guy, long arms. He's almost built for Seattle. What they've always looked for their prototype corners, but he's in that mix. Joseph from Kentucky, a lot of people got him in the second round. We like him right there, right in that borderline, right where the Browns would be picking him. But if it's a late second, what have you. So I think St. Juste from Minnesota, he's another long corner. Really had a good Senior Bowl. He's about a 6'2" and change guy, long arms, all that good stuff that you like to see. So yes, there will be some corners for the Browns if they decide to go, in that second, third round area, that borderline where they're going to be.
Dan, from a wide receiver standpoint, which is something we've talked about a lot, and Nathan feels pretty strongly, and I agree with him, that the corner, defensive end, very likely, and wide receiver could be the 3 picks for us in the first 3 picks that we take. If it is a wide receiver and it's in that second round range, who do you like in that mix that would fit in well with what we're trying to do here?
Well, I think one thing that's great about the draft this year is there's a lot of those slot guys that are really explosive that once they get their hand on the ball, say you're running crossing routes or the hide routes, I call it, the in and out, or the return routes, what Edelman used to do for the Patriots and things like that, stick their foot in the ground, man, they're quick out of their break and everything. Well, there's guys, I don't know if Rondale Moore, for instance, will go that late or not. Somebody may snag him up. I think Elijah Moore, Mississippi, might be gone. We put him in the first round in that mock draft we just did. Tony, I like him. He's really electric, and he's going to go higher than I think that we would take him because, to me, you cannot drop the ball. If you're a pro receiver, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, he drops maybe, and Senior Bowl is really embarrassing, I think, for him. But, he drops a lot of balls. When he holds on to it now, he may take it to the house, But, you want somebody who can snatch onto the ball. But a guy from Western Michigan, not too far away, up there, Eskridge is the guy that he flat out can run. He's a 4.3 guy. And, again, he's explosive in and out of his breaks. He was outstanding at the Senior Bowl with the talent that was there. And unfortunately, he got kind of a sprained ankle or something, didn't play in the game. But he had a great week of practice. So now another guy that's bigger is Fanaku from Stanford, who is he's a big guy. Now he's around 220, 227 pounds, somewhere there. But he's got pretty good speed, and he can snatch that ball too. A guy that we probably like better than some others because he's more vertical now. He's vertical, dig routes, things like that. For Michigan's Nico Collins.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and there's a lot of flavors, and I think if the Browns want to add speed, certainly that's a possibility. I want to ask you about two guys that seem to be, yes, they've got positions. I'm not sure what they are. I would love you to tell me. Both of them go before the Browns. JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, you have going to Washington football team at 19, and Zaven Collins at 25. If the Browns were to get into that linebacker, and I think maybe JOK is a linebacker safety and Collins is a linebacker edge, I don't know. What do you think of those two guys, and how would they fit in a team that runs predominantly a 4-3 like the Browns?
Yeah, well, I think JOK would be the that will linebacker, super explosive guy, and he could also be that big nickel because he's pretty good in coverage. And but he'd be, to me, more of a will linebacker. You can use him to blitz. You can walk him out, and then of course a lot of times you guys know that you're in a 4-2-5 look a lot, and you can have him be a linebacker in the slot, walk out, or what have you. You wouldn't even necessarily have to take him off the field. The thing is, his explosiveness, athletic ability, and all that kind of override the fact that he's 6'1", 222. So he's not, an overwhelmingly big, rangy guy, for instance, but boy, he sticks his foot in the ground. He comes up. He can blitz. He can, those A and B gap blitzes. Man, he sticks his foot in the ground and boom, he's up the field. Is a chaos guy. Now, the only thing that I really got against Zaven Collins, and the reason we put him in Jacksonville, they're kind of looking for a Sam linebacker, and he's a guy that is perfect for a Sam. Like he'll walk up on the line, in that 4-3, and then he can lock up on that tight end, carry him up the field, go all over, man all over the field because he's a big guy. I mean, he's 6'4", 260. He's kind of like the throwback linebacker. But the sticky wicket about him, I worry about his instincts, which I think, when you're a linebacker, you have got to have great instincts. Now, he sees it, he can go get it, okay? And then his coverage, he needs work in coverage. And there's no perfect players in this draft. I mean, even, Trevor Lawrence is not a perfect player. So, I mean, he's got his holes, and everybody's got their deficiencies. But I think Collins, the instincts, a little bit off. He did have 4 interceptions, but a lot of those were thrown right to him. And but he's a big, strong guy, and it always depends on how and what you ask these guys to do. And so and I know, Urban Meyer loves to have that speed and things like that. So here's a big guy with speed for him right there at Jacksonville's pick at 25.
Dan, you're the best, man. Absolutely love having you on. Love our lads. Love all the stuff that you guys do. And thank you for giving us a little bit of your time on draft day.
You bet you guys. Hey, enjoy it with that draft in Cleveland. Unfortunately, it's raining, so bring your umbrella, huh?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Could be done by 8,
guys.
though. Fingers crossed. Hopefully so. That's the great Dan
Okay.
show, of course.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Former NFL scout and the boss at our lads. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Tom Pelissero weighed in on the 49ers, and it's chaos. We'll get to that coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, the NFL Draft is here. Stock up at Meijer on top picks like Bounty, Old Spice, and Tide. So you're ready for anything. They're in stock and available. Plus, this week, save over $125 on P&G brands with M-Perks. Place your order in the Meijer app today. So this started as the play-by-play guy for the Minnesota Vikings is how this started. And now it's to the point where Tom Pelissero is saying that, in fact, and reporting that the 49ers reached out to the Packers yesterday about Aaron Rodgers. Yesterday about Aaron Rodgers, to which I think Kyle Brandt probably summed this up the best I've seen anyone sum it up. It's fantastic. excusing yourself at your own rehearsal dinner to DM Margot Robbie. You want to get married? Let me know. Great job out of Kyle.
If I were a 49ers fan right now, and as much as
and you were
and
at one point,
I still am, but I'm a Browns fan, obviously, first and foremost. But that's my childhood team. I'd be panicking right now. I would be like, we just gave up all of this and have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Why have we done this? Why do we not know what we're doing? Why are we clearly we're conflicted? There are reports coming out that Kyle wants Mac Jones. The scouting department wants Trey Lance. Trey Lance, by the way, now the betting favorite to go number 3 to the 49ers, as even though Jones had been the favorite for weeks and weeks and weeks, for ages and ages.
So if that's the case, if that is the case, and Kyle doesn't win that, then that to me is the first sign of divorce. I know he just signed an extension. He's only got the one winning season. He went 13-3, went to the Super Bowl the one year. Other than that, they're all under 500. He's got a 4-12, a couple of 6-10s, I think. I just always assumed he had the organizational power to take who he wanted, and that they did not do the deal unless they were all on the same page.
It's pretty wild. I mean, and Pelissero also want to say, look, there's zero chance the Packers are trading Rodgers. Duh. And Glazer says multiple teams have called about Rodgers.
That's where I was going. Glazer with a bomb in the last hour. The 49ers aren't the only team.
Rappaport.
No, but their report, them inquiring is the most troubling for another NFL team. Just like everyone would kick the tires on Russell Wilson, everyone would kick the tire. A lot of teams kick tires on Rodgers. But the reality is, unless the idea that the 49ers are doing it leads you to believe that you have organizational chaos.
It sounds like we're a little bit panicked. And I thought Albright, blaming everything, saying that the organization has basically blamed the fact that they lost the Super Bowl on Garoppolo. Let's talk about the guy that blew a coverage on 4th and 17. When they told him in his ear, do not jump inside on this. We know what they're running.
Do not. Right. Don't do it.
He did it anyway. Chris Jones doesn't make an unbelievable play to bat down a ball on that third down. They might still be running and have won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Listen, you have guys like Kyle and Sean McVay who are very good, very talented, very smart, very particular. And you've seen now both of them get to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them lose the Super Bowl. Now, Kyle's, unfortunately, as the play caller in Atlanta, he's had a nice lead in 2 Super Bowls and has not won one of them. But then you see, and when you hear something like that and you hear what happened in L.A., where it's like all of a sudden, it can't be me. Yep. It's got to be you, Jared Goff. It's got to be you, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Not me. I'm the wonder kid.
That kind of thought process can work, but then you better be 100% right on the next one. Like, if the Rams don't light it up with Stafford, there's, I think, an immense amount of pressure on McVay.
Oh, for sure. He has his worst record's 9-7. So but
he's acting like
every year
Goff couldn't play quarterback. And Goff's throwing for 70% completions and more than a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio and all that.
I agree. There's a tremendous amount of pressure on them both. I think Kyle's probably has more pressure than anybody else in the NFL right now, based on what they gave up to do this. The other side of this, and you mentioned the Glazer report. I mean, to me, what's very clearly going on is Aaron Rodgers has told his agent, I want out.
I feel that
Get me out.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Rappaport also said today that the Niners are also still checking in on Deshaun Watson. And that's the one story that's kind of, gone away in a sense, not what he's dealing with, but in terms of him in the National Football League right now, it's on the back burner, and rightfully so. it's very interesting, to say the least.
Yes.
What's going on. And that's why we said number 3. Listen, Brown's Freak just tweet said, come on, man. Are you really naive enough to believe that the 49ers have not known from the minute they made that deal that they're not sure what they're going to do? We've been saying that. I've been saying there's no way. You've been saying. Thanks, Goose. Have been saying that there is
He's making the mistake, though, in the tweet because he's saying the 49ers don't know. There's a difference, perhaps, in what the 49ers know and what Kyle knows. And those things might sync up. And he might not have the organizational power that he had 2 years ago.
I also think, though, that once you've acquired pick 3 and you don't reach out, and that happened a while ago, and you haven't reached out to the Packers until the day of or the night before the draft.
Correct.
That means you don't know what you're going to do, or you all of a sudden don't like what you thought you knew you were going to do as much as you once did.
We can't agree on this. What about this?
And now, no, rejected, we're back here. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Now, if you're Kyle.
Crazy.
If I'm Lynch and my whole scouting department believes, as we've heard a lot of people say, Kurt Warner, a lot of the people have come on the show. Mac Jones is good. Yeah, he's good. He's smart. He'll get the ball out. He's all of those things. But what makes us think he's more than Andy Dalton? Now, you can win divisions. Andy Dalton won a very good AFC North multiple times, and you can win with that.
Yep.
But is he somebody that's going to win you a Super Bowl? I mean, I don't think the people in Chicago right now are jumping up and down about QB1.
No.
So if your scouting department says this is that outcome, this guy could be this. You're the great coach. Let me give you the best ball of clay. You do this. We're going to give you a guy who could be all world. Mold him. And Lance is smart. That's the thing. They talk about Kyle wanting intelligence. Lance is supposedly regarded, and Shanka said it, the smartest quarterback in the draft. Yeah,
we've heard he's a wizard on the board. I've heard that from multiple people.
So yeah. I wonder if Lynch is like, wait a second. This guy's ceiling is so high. Why don't you want him?
Yeah.
Now you got somebody saying, do you not believe in yourself as much as you say you do? And you want this safe little Mac Jones?
Yeah. And honestly, to Ben's point earlier, like you do have to question their ability to identify quarterbacks.
Well, my dad would
the Bears get all of the heat in the world in 2017 about Trubisky because they didn't take Watson or Mahomes. Pick number 3 was Solomon Thomas in that draft.
I know. Yes,
they paid Garoppolo.
Yes, it was. Garoppolo had been
and now they don't like him.
Garoppolo's always played well. He's just been hurt.
That's not my opinion on him or yours. I know. I'm saying that's clearly their opinion that they don't want him.
Well,
they paid him, and now they don't want him.
It's one of those things again where it's like, Jimmy, we got you to the Super Bowl, and then you failed us. It could have been us. Yeah. You failed us, so now we're done with you. We're over you, and you can't stay healthy, which is fair. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't.
No, true.
How about this from Pro Football Network, which is who Albright does work for? That's where his mock was released. Tony Pauline, we've talked about him. Tony Pauline. I was told that a trade was in place, and if New England cannot get their quarterback in the draft, Jimmy Garoppolo would be headed back to the Patriots. That this is
okay. So we heard that yesterday. There was rumors of that yesterday that they're working on an extension. That would be something. Now the question is, how do you define their quarterback for the Patriots?
I'm guessing it's whoever they want in this draft.
Correct, but I mean, how's that defined? Like, is that if you're sitting at 15, are you saying the guy we like is Fields? One other point, though, quickly on the Patriots, because we got to do some fact or fiction here. But one other point on this: do we really think that anything is going to come out of New England?
That's what we said yesterday. I don't think so.
No, nothing. Nothing's coming out of New England. It's a vault, Jerry, a vault. Nothing comes out of the vault. We'll play a little fact or fiction. Take a look at the final mocks from all of the experts on who they have us taking. That is coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my great friends at Northeast Factory Direct. If you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, now is the time to upgrade, and the place to do it is Northeast Factory Direct. High quality, name brand furniture and hot tubs for about half the price as those fancy retail stores. You know that, or you should if you don't buy now. But at Northeast, you can also get high quality cabinets, 60 to 70% less than those kitchen remodeling stores. It's just easy to do it. You make an appointment, you bring in basic measurements. They're going to walk you through everything, and the best part is the appointment and the design are free. Those are yours. Northeast Factory Direct cuts out all the costs associated with traditional stores. You can buy nice stuff at really incredible prices. They also have 0% financing available. So if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, it is simple. Go to northeastfactorydirect.com and schedule your appointment today. Also tonight on the University Hospitals Cleveland Browns radio network, the coverage begins at 8. Ken Carmen, John Greco on the call for that. Appearances by Joe Thomas, Jim Donovan, Dane Brugler, the draft picks. Andrew Berry will join us at the end, join the fellas rather, at the end of the night. So you have that to look forward to, which is nice. Time for a little fact or fiction with Gibby. Hello, Gibby.
We got a lot to get to this segment. We'll just do a little rapid fire, and then you guys can break down the final mocks of the year.
Yep.
So, number one, Nick.
Fact or fiction?
Jimmy G is a 49er on Monday. Fact or fiction? Zegura, we'll start with you. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Beau's from the Bay Area. He's got a nice
He's got the background.
Bay Bridge going
That's
on.
great.
Beau,
I'm just mad they won't have a
Why
can't I get a
apologize.
Montana background on Zoom? I'd have to put my own
Yeah, they
picture in there.
should
It
be
should be
able
one of the
to.
standard. It should be stock. It's beautiful. Big sky
Well, as you
country.
guys, you're right. And as you guys know, as someone who grew up in the Bay Area, and my fondness for Steve Young, and the way that I viewed him as the greatest 49er quarterback of all time, what we have been searching
Preach it,
for
brother.
in the
No,
Bay
you
Area has been another dual-threat quarterback, and that quarterback will be Trey Lance. And I have great faith that he will be a reincarnation of the greatest quarterback of all time, Steve Young. And so, with that
Amen.
in mind, he is not ready to play. So I will say, fact, Jimmy G will be a 49er on Monday.
No wonder you live in Cleveland. Now, they wouldn't let you back in the Bay Area with that kind of blasphemy.
How would you know? You're in Montana. You're just picking front runners, man.
Well, Pedro relocated from there, Montana to the Bay Area, and he tells me. Boots on the ground.
He tells you things.
Yeah. I'll say fact. I think he's going to be there as well.
All right, next.
Fact or fiction?
The top 5 QBs are all gone by pick number 10 tonight. Zegura, you're up first.
Fiction. I don't believe that will be the case. I think somebody's going to be around in the 15s. Nobody's getting to 32. Sorry, Chris Sims. Good news. PFT commenter's spleen will be safe. Did you see that? He told
No, I did what
he told Sims. He said, "I will cut my spleen out and deliver it to you if Fields goes 32nd or later."
There you go.
No cap.
So
I think anytime you offer up a spleen, it's a win.
Big win.
Boy, be fun to
Sims,
interview
to his
him in
credit, said, "I
character.
will accept
I'll
your
tell
spleen."
you what,
He said, "I will take it."
he'll take the spleen.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Look, I'm gonna go fact. All 5 are gone by 10.
I like it.
Wow.
Bold
I
statements.
hope so. Why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Push.
1, 2, 3, 7. Someone will come. Someone will come at 7, and then 9 with the Broncos.
Next.
Fact or fiction?
There will be at least 3 trades tonight. Bishop.
I'll go fiction on this. I think there's a lot of craziness being swirled, but in the end, you might just get 1 or 2 trades. It seems like the Saints are pretty hell-bent. But I also think teams are going to be skeptical on what to do and worried because they're in their own silos, man.
All right. You've already got 1 trade guaranteed in your mind at 7, right?
Right.
I think we'll see another. I think we're going to see a trade for one of these top 2 corners. So that's 2. And I think somebody at the end of the first round is going to be like, whatever, and move out. So I think first I say fact. There will be at least 3.
Well, I guess I only need 3. It's not more. It's not 3 or more. It's just at least 3.
That's right.
It's a good over/under. 2.5 would have been been where you'd have to make some. 3.5 rather would have been the one that would be tough.
Sure.
I'll still say under. I think there'll be 2.
Okay.
Two deals tonight.
Yeah, could be a lot of smoke, no fire. Could be the exact opposite. I have no idea on this one tonight. Next.
Nobody knows anything.
Fact or fiction?
The first team to trade up will make a trade for someone other than a QB. Zegura.
I mean, the head start with the Saints.
Are we ignoring the 49ers trade up?
Anything
first trade that happens
any
today.
trade that happens today.
Today. Well, I'm going to defer to the great Beau Bishop and his crystal ball and say no. The first trade up is going to be to number 7 for a quarterback. And then you could see somebody maybe come up to number 8 like the Eagles from 12 to 8 to get a cornerback.
Well, the Saints would have the head start on this, right? Because they could have a deal done. I mean, apparently they're already working on it, trying to get it done. That's been leaked out. So, and you saw them with the eyes tweet. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
The Saints organization.
I like
that.
That's fun.
Leads you to, yeah, that's fun. Have some fun with it. I think the Saints will pull one off first, but I still think 7 will be a trade for a quarterback. So then Saints would go to what, 8? That's where the Chargers are.
Panthers are 8.
Panthers are 8. Chargers are 7.
Panthers are 8.
Am I correct on that?
No, Lions are
Lions
7.
Lions
are
are 7.
The Chargers aren't in the
Lions
top
are 7.
Oh,
10.
Oh no, that's
that was a mock that I saw.
so Panthers could. Yeah, see the problem for the Saints if they want to get in the top 10, the Panthers aren't going to do business with the Saints. I don't think.
No, I think the Panthers are going to trade with the Eagles. The Eagles are going to go from 6 to 12 and then 12 back to 8.
Back to 8. So 7 would be the spot if it was going to be. If the Saints want to get the best corner, they got to go to 7.
Final one.
Fact or fiction?
The Patriots will not take a QB in round 1. Bishop, we'll start with you.
Just because they're them, I'll say fact.
Zegura?
That everything people think about them, they do the opposite.
Well, I don't know that the first one and the last one, if we're to believe all of this stuff, can both be true. They cannot both be facts. I don't know that it is possible for it to both be a fact that the Patriots don't take a quarterback in round 1 and Jimmy G is a 49er on Monday, if we're to believe the scuttlebutt.
By the way, speaking of scuttlebutt, rap sheet in the last 2 minutes. Tim Tebow recently worked out for the Jaguars.
Stop it.
There has been at least some discussion of him signing. Oh, and he's a tight end now. This is coming from rap sheet, and this is a blue check mark
That can't happen.
tweet.
That can't happen. That would all credibility would be in question at that point if that happened. You can't do that.
For years, Tebow
You can't have
resisted
Timmy
a
in there
shift
being
to tight
rah-rah
end.
guy.
Now at 33 years old, Tebow could return to his hometown team, per rap sheet.
No. And you can't have him being
What is
rah-rah
going
guy.
on?
It's the NFL, for God's sake. You can't have that. That can't be.
Final mock time,
Hold on
gentlemen.
real quick. Jonathan Jones has planted his flag in the ground. Senior NFL reporter at CBS Sports. The NFL wants to preserve intrigue, but the top 3 is all but set. Lawrence, Wilson, Jones. Oh.
How does he know?
I don't know, but Tim Tebow, we are just – this is out.
That can't be.
All right, Schefter followed
That
up.
can't be.
You did just now.
Schefter just followed up. Tim Tebow reached out to the Jags and requested a tryout at the tight end position per sources, a move many believe would have extended his career. He made the transition earlier. He recently worked out with the Jags tight end coach. No decision has been made.
Can't do that. Especially there. I mean, the circus that would be there.
Oh, my goodness.
Good job out of you, Gibby.
Unbelievable.
Should we do final mocks right here?
Yes.
Let's take a quick timeout. Then we will do the final mocks. All of the experts, who they have us going with in the first round, and our bold prediction from tonight as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, where there actually is still a lot more to come right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey guys, get ready for the NFL Draft right here with special editions of Browns Live all week, presented by Graham and Fist Wine in a Can tonight at 6. Join us, 2021 Browns Live hour-long draft special hosted by us in Berea. Analysis, exclusive interviews, all the draft prep you need leading up to the first round of the draft. Watch Browns Live on the Browns website, Browns YouTube channel, the Browns mobile app with full replays of the show available at youtube.com/Browns. You got some poll results for us, Gibbe? No mic.
Oh, hey, how about now? Better? Yep, that's what
Nothing
happens.
closes the draft process like Gibby talking for 12 seconds into a mic that was not
Today's
on.
Ohio Lottery
Only
Keep
at a
It
light.
Fun poll. What position do you want the Browns to address tonight at pick 26? 56.3% corner, 24.3% linebacker, edge 10.3%, wide receiver 9.2%.
All right. Here are your final mocks from the luminaries heading into tonight, and these are the great minds in all of football. Daniel Jeremiah, Jamin Davis, the linebacker out of Kentucky, Jamin. Todd McShay, Jamin. Todd McShay, Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle out of Alabama, Mel Kipa Jr., Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky, Mike Florio, LSU wide receiver Terrence Marshall, Pete Prisco, Miami edge Jalen Phillips, P. Schreggs with cornerback Tyson Campbell out of Georgia, and two luminaries here, Baco and Davidson. They both say that we will go. Now, who did they do this together? Is this groupthink?
Yeah,
David Collins
they do
and
this all
Rousseau?
the time. They throw this. They update the department weekly on their mocks that they're doing. They run through a simulator.
Okay, very good. All right, so they have Zaven Collins, and they're doing this together as a brain trust?
Yes.
Okay, all right. They have Collins and Rousseau. What do you think, Z? What's the dream scenario? Give me once a bold prediction. I would just rather what I want from you is what do you think happens tonight at 26?
First
and
of
if
all,
it's bold,
way to
bless
go,
you.
Baco and Davidson. A bold scenario would be a receiver in the first round. I don't think that's necessarily what they want, or JOK is a bold scenario in the first round. I think they want a cornerback. And again, I could care less who it is. Whoever our great scouting department thinks is the guy, go get him. I hope that the Browns come out of tonight with a corner or somebody that they feel is just unbelievably elite from a trait standpoint that makes sense for them. There could be a corner run. It could end up being a trade out. We could be here all night, and the Browns might not make a pick. Everything is on the table. Everything's on the table.
Yeah. And especially when you consider and I've heard a lot of people say this in the last 48 hours among all the other craziness, is that the 2022 draft is actually better than this one.
Yes.
And so for teams that have the guts to get out of this one and get into next year and add into the currency for next year, those teams will be rewarded, and you'll have a traditional scouting and all of that. So that might not be what the fans want, but that might be the way that it goes. I think you hit it. I think that's absolutely it. And I think if from my vantage point, if for like a cheat code, highest graded PFF player at 26 who plays corner, defensive end, or wide receiver, whoever that is.
Yep.
I don't even care. Pick one.
Same.
Doesn't matter to me. Whichever one's the highest graded. And that's just my cheat because I don't have their brains. I don't have all that Ivy League education they have. So I just go to PFF. When we're picking at 26, I'll look at
2 minutes.
That's the guy that I want, whoever that guy is. But understand, folks, and this is the lesson. We led off the show with this. This is not a plug-and-play situation. There is no reason to be outraged or cartwheels. I mean, this is picking at 26. And as Dan Shanka said, get used to it.
Yes. Just sit back and enjoy. Our roster's, we've got the roster.
It's set.
We're focused on September, playing games, not the draft.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun tonight. It's going to be a long night. If we stay at 26, what are we talking, 11 o'clock?
Yes.
Something like that, probably?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
That's where we're headed with that. Going to be fun. Enjoy the draft, everybody. We are back tomorrow.